Hello everyone, I'm Sujay from Binary Bosses. Today, in this video, we are going to do virtual 3D art gallery using VS Code. So let's get started. Let's start with an Emmet abbreviation. Here we are going to do virtual 3D art gallery. So then next, let's link to the CSS part, which is style.css, and then yeah, we've done part. Here we have taken input type checkbox and id light switch access key as equal to 1. So this represents we have taken an input type as checkbox. So we all know that a checkbox, let me show you an output. So this represents a checkbox. So there are two types of checkboxes, which are symbolized as one as tick and one another as an empty box. So when the cursor is placed to that ticked box, it gets marked, and another as unmarked. And then let's continue next. We have taken label, and in that label we have taken a class p1 point, p1 hover pointer title as tap to zoom, double tap to view code. So here the label represents, the label is taken because whenever the cursor is moved, okay, whenever the cursor is moved, the output should be moved according to the cursor, such that it becomes a 3D art gallery. So we've taken a label. It gets basically label is a thing which gets pointed at any part of that place. So we've taken p1 pointer, and we've taken a href. We've taken the reference from the codepin.io. Here the p1 p1 hover pointer. We've taken three similar parts of p1 hover pointer because we are dealing with 3D art gallery, and here is the label that ends. So let's continue. P2 hover pointer, which is similar to that of P1 hover pointer. We've taken three arts for our art gallery, and we've ended here. So let's continue to the next part. So here's the next part. I've taken Z, X, and Y. So according to the 3D, we have three axes, right? X, Y, and Z. When we are talking about art gallery room, basically a room contains a floor, a ceiling, a few walls. So I've taken three walls, such that there would be three paintings in that. So painting one includes an image p. So p represents a paragraph. So that we've taken content in that paragraph. Here br tag represents a break in that paragraph. Here small represents the text of that black like Sanji, for example. It should be written in a smaller case. And here is the ending of that wall one. And here is the opening of wall two, which is similar to that of wall one. We have taken a painting, an image, and a paragraph of a few text content in that, and closing of wall 2. Similarly here we have taken opening of wall 3, painting, image, content in that image, small case of content in that, and wall 3, thus closing of wall 3. And then so here we are discussing about wall 4. the wall 4 is completely different from the previous that we have discussed. So the wall 4 is open, contains a notice, that is a notice tag. In that notice tag we've taken a few anchor tags and placed with the titles, that is by the landscape CSS art for your wall, by the still life CSS art for your wall, and by the portrait CSS art for your wall, which has a reference link with the redbubble.com. And we've taken a door, so that whenever we discuss about 3D art gallery room, so when we enter the 3D art gallery room, the room should contain a door, right? So we've taken a door here, a label for light switch, class pointer, title switch. So beside that door we've taken a light switch and indication bar, that is the fire exit, and a few icons images in that fire exit, a few icon tags in that fire exit, and thus closing off uh, yeah, I forgot to close these XYZ axis. So thus closing of these 3D axes that are taken as ZX and Y. Now let's continue to the style.css. For that, let's check output once again. Yeah, so these are the images that we have taken, and these are the text that are written here. By the changing of the CSS, we'll get to know how the 3D gets changed. So let's start with the image part. So we've taken image as yeah, here are the images that we have taken, and the width of that image are 100 position, the position as static. And okay, here we have taken dot pointer, right? In here dot pointer represents which is labeled in a class dot pointer turn for wall 4 and title rotate. Here the point dot pointer represents the cursor pointer. Whenever the cursor is placed to that particular position, it gets pointed. And we've taken the input types, right? That is checkbox and assume access key as one. So these are the types. The HTML, in that HTML, in the HTML we've adjusted few points such as the font size, width, the height, font family, etc. Font family, etc. And coming to next, we are adjusting the body. So perspective. So here the perspective represents the 3D position of that element, and here we have taken the overflow as hidden, which means both the x-axis and y-axis scroll bars gets hidden, and it is compressed in the full body. Also we have taken height 100, margin 0, background flex wrap. So by continuing next, here we have taken body hashtag is to before, body hashtag is to after. So the content in the body and the content of before the body and the content after the body to be noted here. The transform style preserve 3D, which means the style which we are giving to be taken as a 3D part, the box sizing as border box to be, means it gets fixed in the border box, position as absolute, left 0, and outline as none, content as taken as nil. And then so here we have taken hashtag. I mean, this hash represents the ID of that part checked, and we are taking two parts, right? We have taken the input types as checked and unchecked. Here the first part represents the label to be checked, and the second part represents the label to be unchecked. Sorry, the label to be included in the anchor tag. Okay, and then we've given few adjustments such as with the height as calculated 100% upon 13, 100% upon 3, which represents the measurements to be given in that the output. So here we have taken the background as black, so as we can see in the body, so width to be calculated as 100% upon 13 and 100% upon 3. So and z index as 1, which z index here, z index represents the image to be appeared before the background here, and the padding and margin to be 0 and displayed as inline, which to be displayed in a line. And we've applied a few transitions as zero point 0.1 and 0.5 seconds linear, that is in a two axes from top and bottom. It is zero point 0.1 at our left and right, it is 0.5 seconds linear. And then so these are the things that are to be changed. Okay, here wall 4 checked nth type of 1. Here nth type of 1 represents the label of the first type, and here the label type of and first type. Here we are representing it as a hover, and here we are representing it as the focus. So these two parts represents when the cursor is pointed towards that first type of label, then it gets hovered and it gets focused on that, the cursor gets focused on that part. And transform, we are using transform to rotate with an angle of minus 240 degrees, that is to rotate in anti-clockwise direction. And here we are giving the same part as a transform of rotate in x direction as 10 degrees. Here we are rotating in y direction of minus 240 degrees. Here we are rotating in x direction as 10 degrees. And then if we are coming to the type 2 of label, we are rotating of minus 230 degrees and 10 degrees. So we've representing the x direction, representing the x direction for all the label and the type, that is sum of 15, sorry, 30, yeah, 39 types of label type as 10 degrees in the rotate x direction. Sorry, 13, up to 13 we are rotating of 10 in 10 degrees direction. We are decreasing 10 degrees from a label type of 1 degree to 13th degree. As we can see in the rotation of y direction, transform rotate y minus 170 degrees, transform rotate y of minus 160 degrees, 150, 140, 130, 120, and plus the end of rotation of, I mean, transform of y from 14. Again we are taking from minus 240 degrees. Yeah, as you can see here, we are taking from minus 240 degrees, and thus we are decreasing up to similarly of 20. So as you can see, from 240 degrees we are decreasing 10 degrees. I mean, there is a drop of 10 degrees up to 120 degrees, cause there is a shift of 120 degrees, 120 degrees when the cursor gets moved. And these will get over and focus. Similarly here, from the 27th list of nth type, minus 240 degrees, minus 230 degrees, to the 120 degrees. And here is a thus here is the end. Okay, here is the end. Here there is a rotation of minus 10 degrees, which is opposite direction to that of label and the type of 1 to 13. Here it is rotating in an anti-clockwise direction, but above here 1 to 13, the rotation is of I mean clockwise direction. Okay, and after completing this, so we've taken XYZ as the, I mean, we consider XYZ as three directions, right? That is, I mean, three axes, right? Position, we've adjusted the position as absolute, top as minus 50 rm, left as 0, right as 0, bottom as 0, so that there is no occupation of spaces, and the transition as 0.5 seconds is in out, which means the transition is very easy when the cursor gets moved. And the floor ceiling, we've taken a floor ceiling, floor is to before, ceiling is to before, and floor is to after, ceiling is to after. That is, when the cursor gets moved, the elements before the floor as the elements before the ceiling, the elements after the floor, and the elements after the ceiling. If we check the output, see, we've getting something right. Okay, let's finish this. So first we've adjusted the floor, that is floor before, floor after. We've taken the name as a floor. We've adjusted height, and we've transformed this rotate x 90 degrees and translate 3D. Here the 3D translate 3D represents the it rotates, I mean, it changes with respect to the x direction, y direction, and z direction. That is which is used in the translate 3D. Here it rotates in the minus 150 degrees. I mean, minus 150 rm, minus 150 rem, and 0 rm. That is here x direction, y direction, z direction. Box shadow. We are taking box shadow as 001 rem. That is 001 rem, which is in the x direction, y direction, and z direction. We are applying a color to that, and some of the inset, and we are applying an inset, which is a keyword in the, I mean, which is a properties separated to list of shadows. Here, if taking RGB, I mean, we are taking a color for that box shadow, and background as a linear gradient, and a repeating linear gradient. So I've taken linear gradient inside radial gradient. Radial gradient applies to every each part of that color. Flourish to before, flourish to after. If that is floor, I mean, the elements before the floor and the elements after the floor. The background I've taken as a radial gradient, circle at the center top, and flourish to after, I mean, rotating with a direction of 90 degrees, and with respect to of y direction, and translate 3D, that is translate 3D, which gets moved with the help of the cursor. When we move, when check the outputs, see, this is the output we are getting. So here is, we can see that rotate right when the cursor is placed, it is due to the label part. And then coming to the ceiling part, so we've written ceiling as transform rotate x translate 3D box shadow. So it is pretty much similar to the applications of floor. That is, but we have ceiling before, we are displaying as none, because there is no rotation in the ceiling. Let's check the output once. So here is the output. We've taken the top one is considered as the ceiling, and the bottom one is considered as the floor. After that, so we are totally discussing about, now we are totally discussing about wall 1 painting, wall 2 painting, and wall 3 painting. So these are the paintings, I mean, these are the art which we have to display. So we've adjusted these to the width 120 and border, border top color, border left color, border right color. So it's totally discussing about the frame of the image, that is frame. And after the framing part, now let's come to, the text part in that wall painting. Here the text part contains a color as 90, white color, and top as 96%, font size transform, Transform translate 3D, we have taken the x and z direction as 0, and scale y here, here we have taken scale y as 0, and the transform origin as minus 62 over m to 0, and the transition as ease in out. Word wrap, and word wrap here, here to break a word in the word wrap. And here wall 1 painting p is to before, p is to before wall 3 painting, p is to before. That means the element before the wall 1 painting elements before the wall 2 wall 3 paintings to be considered. Width as 52 rm, height as 22 rm, border right, border top, transform and box shadow are given. Similarly to the P is to before, we have taken P is to after for the moment. Here the transform, in the transform we have taken the translate 3D. Here transform we have taken skew Y and translate 3D, cause after the when the cursor gets moved with the help of 45 degrees in the Y direction, in the skew Y direction, and then let's go. So let's talk about the for all the elements in the uh, wall painting P. I mean that is text P. We've given the position as relative and content in the content in the paragraph to be normal. Wall painting 1, we've adjusted the height as 166 rm. Wall 2, we've adjusted the width and height and translated with a scale of -1 degrees. Wall 3, we've adjusted width, height and transform as translate 3D. If we check the output, we'll get this. So this back part is the wall painting, and here is the image inside the wall. Similarly to this is the wall 2, and similarly this is the wall 3. Okay, similarly this is the wall 3 painting. Yeah, we've discussed about the wall 4, right? Wall 4 contains a part where we've taken the notice. As in that notice, we've taken few anchor tags. Let me show you. Yeah, here's a wall 4. We've taken the notice, and here the few the anchor tags, and we've taken the title inside it. The wall 4, it is issued to before wall 4 door. In that wall 4 we've taken door, right? Here's a door tag. In that door tag we've applied few changes so that the door gets appeared in that wall 4. Here the width, height adjustments, border radius and box shadow, left right as minus 10 minus 10 rm, and margin auto, so top 60 rm, transform as a translate 3D, and wall 4 is to after. Yeah, just a second. Yeah, so let's continue. Here we have taken the wall 4 door. The wall 4 door contains a border as 5 rm, and here there is we've taken a property called ridge, and we've adjusted a color to that door. On the box shadow we have taken as 1 rem, 0.5 rem, and 1 rem in the three axis. I mean 3 directions. That is 3 axes, and we have adjusted the color. Transform translate 3D, that is translate 3D represents in the moving in the x0, I mean xyz directions. The wall for door is to before, wall for door is to after represents the content before the door and content after the door. Transform, that is translate 3D, rotate y in I mean 10 degrees. Here by moving the cursor it moves with a direction of 10 degrees towards the y direction, and the transform origin as 0 0, the border radius as 1 rem. The transform origin represents it to be in that the center of the I mean towards the origin. Yeah, and the wall for door before represents the content before the door. We've taken the width, height, background, box shadow. Is the width, height we have adjusted, background as a radial gradient, and the circle at the top left, represents the part with the part at the left of the circle, Box shadow we have taken as the inset. Inset represents a property in the v score. After wall for door after, we have calculated the width as 100% by 3.5 and left as 14%, the top as 10%. Height we have calculated as 100% by 3.5. And here are the few adjustments of that. Here are the few color adjustments in that thing. After that, all for door is to after. So the door gets completed and the wall 4 label here, the we've represented wall 4 as a label, right? The background image as RGBA. The background image should be properly adjusted, and the transform translate 3D. We've taken the height width as 8 rem, and the transform translate 3D we've adjusted with the XYZ direction, and the box radius, border radius is 1 rem, box share shadow properly adjusted. Here are the wall 4 label list to after and the wall 4 label list to before. Let's check the output once. So we've got the, just a second, we've got the door, and we've got the label. Here is the label of that element. Here is the switch we're talking about. Let's talk later about the switch. The label list to before and the label list to after. So here are the some hovering points. We've taken these P1 hover is to P1 hover, right? So whenever the cursor gets pointed, it gets hovered with it gets hovered, and we have taken the transform, and with here the transform inside the hover represents whenever the cursor gets moved, and the cursor gets moved, it'll get hover similarly to the pointings of the P1 and the P2. Here we have taken that as a label, and then here we are taking as P1 hover active whenever the cursor gets pointed towards the three parts of the, what do we say, so here the p1 hover pointer. So these are the points. Whenever we point towards them, it will get transformed and moves towards this as per the given things. And these are the few important points. Dot p1 is to hover active, z greater than x greater than y. Here are, it represents the indexes which we have taken, that is in the x direction and y direction, z direction. So as you can see above, so these are the few points. After coming to that, okay, we've taken notice inside the wall 4, right? The notice we've adjusted font size as Firem, transform, translate 3D, and notice age to over, notice age to focus. This represents the hovering effect and the focus effect on to that notice. And we've adjusted the position to relative padding as 2 rem, and text decoration to be none, so that there are no dots type symbols in that. The margin bottom has 3 rem, and inset and transition display block, so that the display doesn't move whenever the cursor gets also already moved. Notice age to hover, notice age to hover, notice age focus is to hover. These are the few points that when the, when the notice anchor tags gets hovered and focused inside the parts. These are the parts whenever the hovering effects. The in these parts we applied the hovering effects. After that, we've taken the fire exit thing, right, in the wall 4. So here is a fire exit. We've taken few icons in that. We've adjusted the setting indexes as 99, so that it properly appears, and at the top of the door, height as 20 and background as the green color, and the border radius and box shadow. So the box shadow gets properly adjusted here. And yeah, here the fire exit is to before, and the fire exit is to after. This represents the content before the fire exit and after the fire exit. That is at the top. If I'll show you in the output. So here is the fire exit before and fire exit after content. Okay. This fire exit is pretty similar to the wall four thing we've taken above, right? Here, the wall four checked, wall four not checked. This is similar to that of thing. Here, the I is to and the type of one. We've taken a few icon representing things. Um, so these are the things. It basically represents the first type and the first type of before and after, and the second type before and after, and that's it. In the first type, we've taken the background width, height, and transform. In the first before type, we've taken width, height, the transform, and border radius, and we have adjusted this thing similar to that of fire exit or east to end the type of one, that is fire exit I used and the type of one fire I used and the type of before and after. And lastly, so we've come to the light switch. Okay, here the light switch should be greater than the floor so that it properly appears. So here the light switch gets checked before the light switch get checked. It should be in the off state, and now after the light switch get checked, it should be in the on state. We have taken the background radial gradient and similarly they at the ceiling, so that when the switch gets off, when the switch gets off, the background should be changed. I'll show you. So this is the thing. Here at the borders of the wall 1 and wall 3, there is a radial gradient color, and at the top at the ceiling here there is a radial gradient color, and the fire exit gets shined, and the label gets also shined. So these are the adjustments that I have taken. And coming to next. So yeah, here is a fire exit thing. The fire exit thing gets brightened up when the lights get switched off. So it should be greater than the label, and we've adjusted the background and box shadow to a certain point. Box shadow has a green color and a black color, and the label is to after and the label is to before. Dot turn back and dot turn and dot turn back. So lastly, this dot turn back are the things which gets reversed when the thing gets started. I'll show you an output. So when the here the cursor gets moved, it gets anti-rotating clock. I mean, it's anti-clockwise in direction, and dot turn before, dot turn back before represents the moving of the things. When moving, when the moving a cursor, the output should get changed, and the hovering effect starts when the cursor gets touches to the walls. Here are the calculated things of the dot turn back. Wall 4 not checked. Yeah, when the wall 4 gets not checked, the represents scale as -1 and opacity as 0, which we cannot see the now when it is not checked, we cannot see that text. And we've taken @, media to get a responsive output. So I'll show you the overall output. So this is the overall output. The below content represents the paragraph and H6 about that about the given first art gallery. So this is the second art gallery, and below that it represents the information of the art. And here is the third art gallery. The below that it represents the information about that art. And here is a rotate right button. So when we rotate right button, the cursor gets it gets into the, I mean, display gets logged, So here are the hovering effects to the notice button of the wall 4, and here is the wall, and here is the door. So when the lights get switched off, this is the radial gradient background, the radial gradient applied to the background and to the fire fire exit bar. So this is the overall output, friends. Thank you.